Alright, this will be the first in the whole series I've been planning, if you will. I'm going to be comparing the Atari 2600 ports of arcade games to the actual thing. As you know, the 2600 was a relatively weak system graphic-wise, and obviously not as powerful as the arcades, because that's, there's still arcade games out there. And they're not basically, you don't see too many new arcade games nowadays, since, for the most part, you see that most video game consoles are more powerful anyway. The first one I'm going to do is Phoenix, and it's another one of those space shooters that kind of use the Space Invaders formula. Like Space Invaders, Galaxian, Galaga, anything with the aliens and you at the bottom shooting upwards. It doesn't seem like Phoenix is quite as popular as those, but still is one of my favorite arcade games. I'll go over some, technical specifications now. Here you see the cabinet. It was developed by Amstar, and then published by Century in America and Taito for Japan, released in 1980. There's a two-player mode like some other arcade games out there where you alternate. No cooperative gameplay, which is okay. Some of the cabinets had a joystick, or they just used two buttons to go left and right, plus two buttons for the shooting and for the shield. And, that's basically it. Storyline's kind of interesting, something you wouldn't normally expect. It goes about the mythical creature, the Phoenix, which has a lifespan of 500 years, and then dies in a nest, and then a new one is born from its ashes. Apparently they're extremely powerful creatures. That's why the aliens in this game want to, capture them, take control of them, and use them against the humans to, kind of conquer Earth. So, naturally, it's only your job to defeat them and save your planet. What's different about this one that you don't usually see in more of the other space shooter arcade games is that there are 5 distinct levels. The first 2 are more of like your Space Invaders, Galaga, Galaxian kind of thing, where, they're just floating on top in formation, then a couple of them break down and try to do a little kamikaze action. They fly around a lot more sporadically than any of your Galaga, Galaxian things. They'll just go up and down, zigzag, go in loops and go back up. Sometimes they'll go off the screen. You don't know when they're going to pop back on. It's a little bit different. So that's the first 2 levels. On the second one, it's a little bit harder than the first. They let you, if you hold the button down, then you can do rapid fire instead of, shooting one at a time and having to press the button for each shot. It's unlike Galaxian and Space Invaders, where you have to wait till the bullet hits the top of the screen or something before you can shoot again. This time it's more like Galaga, where you can just shoot multiple times. The third and fourth levels are where the Phoenixes actually come into play. They start out as eggs and kind of like sway back and forth, and then they grow their wings. Then they swoop down at you, and they can still drop their bombs like the other birds from the earlier levels. I don't know if they're Phoenixes or not. But when they're eggs, they don't, so that's probably when you'd want to go at them more aggressively. You have to hit when they're hatched from their eggs, you have to hit them directly in the stomach. If you hit them in the wings, then they'll just grow back eventually. And if it has one wing, then it'll still be able to fly. But once they both go away, then they'll just grow it back. The third level is where you see the aliens. I guess you make it to their mothership, and then you have to try and break through the bottom layer of the mothership, and then through the scrolling level, and then destroy the little alien in there. It only takes one hit though, so it's not really that big of a deal. It's just dodging the birds flying down, then the bullets falling down from the ship. And then, since the middle layer scrolls, you kind of have to use more of timing. Make a hole for yourself in the one that doesn't move, and then try and break through in one part, and then once that comes back, then time it, shoot right through and hit the alien. Then the game just keeps going on over and over like that. So overall, it makes for a pretty good arcade experience. It's pretty addictive, action-packed, and fun. Alright, now for the 2600 version. For being a lesser system, actually, I think it translated quite well. In gameplay, obviously, and the graphics look a little smooth. But, you see your spaceship down there, looking only one color and having kind of like a skin color. Kind of looks like a chicken without a head. And that's, not what it's supposed to be. As you saw in the arcade, it's supposed to be a red spaceship. I don't know why it has to move like that, though. Even in the arcade, it moved like that. But anyway. It has the same level structure, except, as you might expect with the 2600, there aren't as many, sprites on the screen, so it's easier to pass through. In the third and fourth levels, the phoenixes don't start off as eggs, so it might make it a little bit more challenging. Then, of course, there's less of them. You still have to hit them in the middle, and the same thing applies. They lose both their wings, they're just going to grow right back. Then the mothership level. The only difference in this one is that they're, besides the graphics on the mothership itself looking a little weaker than the arcade, there aren't any birds coming down at you. It's just the bullets from the ship itself. But the same thing applies, trying to break through and hit the alien. And then repeats over and over again. Yeah. The gameplay and controls are flawless on the Atari 2600 version. There's still the shield, which lasts somewhere between 1 and 2 seconds. Then it takes like 4 seconds for it to come back. There isn't really any restriction on when you can use that except for time. Which maybe it would depend on your points or how many enemies you killed, but it just depends. Overall, I think this version translated really well. I think there was I don't have this game and I haven't really seen too much of it, but there was a 2600 game called Demon Attack, which is kind of like the same thing. In reading things on the internet, I've heard that it was a little bit better, but I can't really say anything because I don't have it and I've never played it. But I'm perfectly happy with the Phoenix version here, since that's the original. It's supposed to be a port of the arcade game. Not really having to experience seeing how arcade games translated to the home, and if it was really worth the money or should I just go to the arcade and play it. I've never really had to experience that. I would say that this is really good. Basically the exact same game, except maybe slightly lacking the graphics. Otherwise, it looks really good. Another thing I forgot to mention, not really a huge deal, but in the arcade version, as you heard, there is music playing in the background. But obviously on the 2600, there isn't going to be music. Very few games had the capability to have their own soundtrack. As an Atari 2600 collector today, if you don't have this game, I'd highly recommend buying it. It's just an excellent Atari game, one of the best in my opinion, especially one of the best arcade conversions. Sorry about the lack of videos lately. This has been happening a lot. Usually I put a lot of videos up, but I don't know, maybe we're just getting lazy, whatever. As usual, thanks for watching. I assure you, more videos to come.